That's it. All right, we're recording, so you can do the hi, welcome to the Man Myth whenever you want.
Hello, welcome to the Man Myth Podcast.
Yes, sir. That is our special guest, Steven.
Hello. Happy to
Can you
be
tell
here.
us a little bit about yourself, Steven?
Supposed to introduce me, Like, you're supposed to do that.
Oh, I'm.
Yeah, Dad.
I mean, how do I introduce myself to your respective audience of however many people?
Millions.
A regular person who I know Rob just through doing journeys and like healing work and stuff, and I know Rob, and that's how I know about the podcast. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell as who is speaking on the microphone right now. Yeah, that's always a weird question to be asked to with for people who have no context,
Right.
Like who is Steven? Who is Steven Barry?
That's part of our work, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
but I
what we
like
met?
people to figure it out.
We met about was it a year ago?
Yeah,
No,
it's a little over
no.
a year. Year and a half now.
Steven was going through a little tough spot. Steven is a student of life, I would say, and is excited about the magic part of life. And when we were working through a few things, and I'd helped him through a situation. We could talk about that more later if he feels like he wants to.
Yeah.
But he's taken a new lease, I would say, on life in the way that he chooses to be curious, and he loves people for sure. And the curiosity is something that led him to a space where he and I met. And we've done energy work. He's very curious about magic and how the world works, how energy works. So a fellow lifelong student, I would say, and puts together a Beam playlist also. So,
Yeah, I've had to help your dad out, Bobby, because his taste in music is kind of trash, But we're working on it. We're working.
I mean, some of it's all right if he still listens to the stuff. But he's been listening to the same stuff since I was a kid. I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
That he's been listening to the same stuff, which was oldies and classic rock when I was a kid. So now it's starting to be antiques, some of it.
Yeah.
I do still listen to Tommy Rowe, though, all the time, Dad.
Yeah, Tommy Rose.
Yeah. Who that? I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
I'll introduce you to his music since we're swapping music back and forth.
My music? Introduce you to mine, or
yours?
You're going to introduce me to his or him to mine?
Yeah. We'll do both.
Oh, that helps. I don't know if he's ready for mine.
No, I'm not sure. Well, he is.
I've probably already heard yours. I've probably already heard
his list is. The list he gave me is very eclectic. So.
Yeah.
He sent me a song today. It was really awesome.
Yeah, it was something I made a long time ago. I think it was 2008 because I knew I was like still a freshman in college. But at that time, I was trying to make this like a grand Christian rap album. And I was like, oh, it's going to be like really good and artistic and like I'm going to. And I spent a lot of work on it. And then when I got to the end of it, I had like a little crisis of faith, and then I was like, okay, this is never coming out. So, but yeah, the tracks that I made are still pretty inspiring to me, and I still want to do something with them and make new stuff. Um, that's music is definitely something I'm passionate about, and it's just in me, you know.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's part of being curious, right? That's part of finding what makes you tick, what's important to you, what touches your spirit and all that stuff.
yeah.
Dude, I gotta. There's so much stuff that's like on my desk that's not normally on my desk, and I'm fiddling with it. So like
Yeah,
I'm like, oh look, a
yeah.
thing. Oh look,
Okay.
another thing.
Squirrel.
It's okay, Bobby. It's okay.
Oh, Dad, I wanted to tell you, you're gonna be proud of me.
Again?
For this thing. So you know how I'm on antidepressants, right? I'm on antidepressants, anxiety meds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after our last thing, I was like, you know what? I need to get myself to a point where I can deal with my depression without this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the goal of everything. But I don't want to risk just stopping. Stopping altogether could be too much of a kind of like a jolt to the system, I guess. Maybe it's just me being worried. But so now I only take half of my medication a day. And what I told myself is I'm going to do that for a week. If I start going downhill or something, I can always go back to taking the full pill. But it's been almost 2 weeks now because I didn't tell you last week because I was waiting for it to be the week. But yeah, so now I'm on half of the anti-anxiety meds and I'm doing great. Doing actually I feel better than when I was on them. Because, well, I mean, obviously I'm still on them, but it's 2.5 milligrams. So it's not like, I mean, it's a tiny little amount. You know what I mean? But you get proud of yourself when you realize that you take half this medicine and start doing better than you were before you were on the medicine. So it's just nice to, just a little thing it's been going good. And Ash has been being Ash. You know, she's always making sure that I'm okay and that nothing's like going wrong or nothing's like it hasn't had an adverse effect on me.
That's awesome.
It's been good though.
Yeah.
Are you doing the ashwagandha?
No.
Get you some.
I keep forgetting to buy it. It's there. I see it all the time. I meant to buy some the other day. I saw it when I walked into the store. It was Giant. I walked into Giant, our grocery store, and I was like, all right, I'll come back for this later.
Right.
Got to the whole store, got home, and was like, oh, should have picked it up.
Should have, would have.
But I will get it. Yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah, I mean that'll help. That'll help.
Oh, and I don't want
to too.
Yeah, I don't want to bogart the beginning of this, but also
too late.
I told you I lost that. Yeah. Well, when you just have this buttery smooth voice of mine, you just got to you got to share it.
You got to let it roll.
Excuses.
So I told you I lost another friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one was a lot closer to me. He was in my apprenticeship, and he was just a really good guy. He was very quiet, but he was one of those guys that when he spoke up, it was worth the wait of hearing what he was going to say because it was always exactly like a little zinger or something like funny.
Right.
But then, so I got that, and then I got an email today that my union is going to start like a help group or like a support group for people that are struggling with substance abuse and mental illness. So I'm going to be doing that that's this upcoming Tuesday. Wait, no, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 29th. So it's just nice. It's nice, not on the bandwagon, but taking steps to help. There's 800 people in our local almost, and you never know. You never know who else is going through it unless there's a place you can openly, without judgment or ridicule, express it. A lot of people aren't like me, where I openly talk about it. I openly say, hey, this is how I'm doing. I tell people about my mental health. And the reason I do that is because it's a lot easier. I want people to be more comfortable around me, to tell me when those things, if they have those problems. So sharing my story is how I do that. And that's also why we do the podcast, because if somebody stumbles upon our podcast and is like, oh, I'm not the only one, then it's going to be completely worth it, even if it's just the one or two people that kind of trickle in. But I got some big things in the works that have just happened in the last 24 hours, so it's going to be fun.
Nice. Yeah.
And we have Steven on.
Yeah. I did want to say, and I hit you up after I listened to the episode, but when you shared, I think it was the episode before the last one, just about your, ongoing struggles with depression and stuff. I really appreciated that because I know that you're in a better place, and I've had those same kind of struggles throughout my life, and now my life is really good. And um, I feel like a lot of my friends and the people who know me are used to seeing me a certain way. So I'm less apt to talk about the ongoing struggles I still have, or even the fact that I went through it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that was just a nice reminder for me that, like, oh yeah, like this is helpful, because it was helpful for me to hear it from you.
Well, I'm glad I could be, and that's the thing. I know a lot of the people that listen have gone through similar things, or are going to go, or are going through similar things. So it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nice. But like Dad said, after I expressed everything, we have to be open in this podcast. We can't hold anything back just because we're embarrassed or we're worried about how people see us. We have to be honest and open and truthful. And that's showing other people, like you just said, it's showing other people that, okay, other people go through this, and it's okay for me to be open and honest with my struggles, with my misfortunes, everything that goes wrong or goes right in your life. Share it, because it's such a weight off your shoulders when you have somebody to talk to. Even if it's just like I have Ash, I have my significant other who will always pull me back, and who always has been kind of like almost like a cattle prod.
Yeah.
Is the best way to describe it. I start going astray, she's like, nope.
Yeah.
And the reason I describe her that way is because it's not because she's mean or anything, but she tells me the stuff that 99% of people wouldn't tell me. Even if it's going to hurt my feelings, or she thinks it's going to upset me, if it's something I need to hear, she's going to tell me, and she's going to let me know. But she's doing it so I don't go off the rails.
Right. Yeah. We need those people. Yeah. Yeah.
What'd
We
you
need
say?
those people in our lives who are gonna check us, in a loving way.
Oh, right. Well, we can all get checked by random strangers or people that don't care about us, because they're the ones that are going to be at the forefront of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but it won't hit the same.
All right, Pop, you're being quiet today.
Yeah. What's the theme? The theme
today, and we've kind of touched on that a little bit, is expectations. And what I mean by expectations, a lot of times, especially the energy work that I do, it's trying to be in the future. And it could be good and bad, but like saying today's going to be a great day, right, in the morning. That's different than saying, I think this person's going to like me. And you have that expectation, right? You go into this situation and then that person doesn't, or you guys don't click, or whatever it is. So it changes the whole dynamic, the flow of how things go. Expectations can also change who you are, who you come into the conversational relationship with also. Because if I go into a situation where I'm talking something about medical, and I go in and I start talking with the medical words and stuff like that, my expectation would be that people would understand that, and some people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I go into that conversation with my expectations really can shake things up, and it can make everything nervous, people negative. But I think it's because we go into in expectations in some manners, we go into the future. We're already there. We're already planning it. And then if it doesn't work out the way that we want it to, that makes us feel bad. Or a lot of times like we did something wrong. Or, there's, again, when we mess with the expectations, and it's kind of like desire too, because once you, in an expectation, we have set the story up already. And if the story doesn't go the way that we want it to, then all of a sudden it's like, crap, what happened? And then we can go into the dialogue of our traumas. Right. But only then it's amplified. So if you go into this thing and you think it's going to be so cool and it's not, and then all of a sudden you go back and you're like, oh man, everybody hates me. Or nobody listens. Those kind of, we talk about absolutes and how, we use them almost, we dead brain them just because it's that, people are like, oh, this was the best thing ever. I don't know how many times I hear somebody say that daily. And if it is, it's good if it just keeps getting better. But it's like,
right.
It's like the greeting. What's up? Well, nobody wants to know what's up. They just are greeting you. Right. So if we can not have the expectations, but we can be prepared for a situation. And if we can go in and be in the present moment, then it lets energy, it lets the conversation flow the way that it needs to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that is one that I've been working on because I've had a mindset of throughout my life that, well, I shouldn't expect anything because, well, this never goes right for me. I've never been able to do this, or, this is impossible. So, like, I'm just not even going to expect anything. I'm just going to, like, roll with whatever falls in my lap or whatever I stumble into. Right. And now I realize that there is a lot that's possible for me and just in general. And I have learned to love myself and look at myself with value. So now that I'm like really curious and open minded, there's so much that I want. Right. And then there's expectations that come with that. There's stories that come with that. And I'm trying to balance having that and not like trying to stuff that down, but also to be able to zoom out and just meet the moment where it is. And if it matches with my expectations, great. If it doesn't, great. It's a new story, new angle, So yeah, that's where I'm at, right, with expectations.
But even not have, when you were talking about the part of it, your expectation wasn't in essence, disconnect, or things weren't going to go the way that they were supposed to go, or the way that you expected them to go. So the expectation was still there. It was just self-sabotaging before the situation even got there, right? And it was funny when Steven and I first met. He was, some of the things that I did energetically, he was just like, I want to have that now, right? So the expectation was to be able to do what I do, and then it turned into a comparison. And again, that's what I was talking about at the beginning. We have this expectation of this. We set ourselves up for this situation. If it works out, man, it's great. But seldom does it work out like we think it's going to. So part of working with Steven was doing the thing that says, listen, it took time to get here. And there's also the gift of learning and patience, which he's, that's where he is now. He's doing all these like settling things, but still going in the right direction. And it's just because if you don't have it in, it was like somebody asked me about enlightenment, and I was like, it takes this much time. They were like, oh, like it does. I don't know. It isn't an exact science, but it also, and we talk, I've talked about this, the journey is the destination. A lot of times it's the fun stuff that happens along the way. It's the connections. It's the chats that, like, Steven was up, last week or two ago, and we just sat and chatted for a long time. I didn't have any expectations about the conversation, so it flowed. Right. If I'd expected we needed to get to this topic, then we would have been pushing toward that topic versus letting everything just flow. So that's why I think expectations are it's a tough little bed to lie in, as it were.
Well, that reminds me of a quote, and I'm just paraphrasing. I can't remember who said the quote, but it says, most people overestimate what they can do in 2 months, but will underestimate what they can do in 2 years. And that's it's just, when I hear that, everybody, and we talk about it all the time, everybody wants instant gratification. And it's part of this world we live in where everything is in our fingertips. So it's hard to pull yourself back, and something like enlightenment or spirituality is not, like you say all the time, it's the journey. And this journey could be a year, it could be 20 years. You don't know how long it's going to take, and you don't know what a person's going to go through during that time. So it's just one of those things that expectations in ourselves, I think, are good. But I always have to watch my expectations of others. Like expecting things of others, because usually that's when I get let down the most, is when I'm like, oh, well, this person will do this person will do that. And that's not what happens. And then I'm upset because I expected more of this person, but that's not fair to them. They didn't, I shouldn't get to set expectations for them.
Yeah.
Through my eyes. That's what
there
came
wasn't
to
an agreement
my mind when I thought of expectations. Right, exactly. Yeah, they didn't tell me they were going to do something, and they didn't do it. I just was like, oh, I expect this to happen.
Right. Yeah. And they probably weren't even aware of your expectations.
No.
Yeah. I would say for me, it's not so much that I want instant gratification, although that would be nice. It's more so wanting and desiring, and also having my feelings, and that being okay, just to have whatever my feelings are about anything, is a thing I've had to learn to sit with, because I was not taught that was okay when I was growing up. So it's part of the reason why I do get excited, and I do put a lot of energy into whenever I do fun experience, or I'm connected, or whatever it is, whether it goes the way I want it to go or it just ends up being great, I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go, because that's just so new and exhilarating for me, even though it's becoming my new normal, but still, like, it's, um, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think any of the three of us were taught that growing up at all. Even though
mm,
the guy that's teaching you that now is the same guy that I grew up with. Physically, he's the same guy. Emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, he's not the same. But
yeah.
and we talked about that, and I mean, everybody has grown. It's been, I mean, I've been out of the house for almost 20 years. It's
Hmm.
everybody's changed enormously in 20 years.
Hmm.
I mean, when my dad was raising me, he was my age now, like almost my age.
Yeah.
I have no clue what's going on. I'm 37 years old. I have no clue.
Yeah.
I wake up every morning and go to work, and just whatever happens, happens. Let's just
Hmm.
go. We got to work. We got this to do. Let's do it. But I
Yeah.
mean, even with my children, I've been trying so hard to be patient and and again, I have these expectations that they're going to be this way or that way. And Dad knows all the kids. And Steven, if you ever, I'm sure you'll meet him sometime soon. But
Yeah.
the kids just, they are, the oldest three are somehow polar. They're a triangle of polar opposites, which I know polar is only two, but they're, I don't think the three of them could be further away from the other two at all. And it's great. It's fun to see because I
Hmm.
get these three little personalities that I get to watch bloom and grow and do all this stuff. But then you have like expectations of, oh, well, when I come home, they should be doing this, or when they're in school, what are they doing? When they get home from school, they should do this. But you can't have, especially with children, young children, you can't have expectations that like I said before, that we haven't discussed or had an agreement upon. And
Hmm.
so, like, when they go to school, we have to say, okay, you have to do, when you come home from school, you do your homework. So we have to set these boundaries instead of having expectations of them of our own. And then hopefully they will see that the boundaries are a good thing. They won't see the boundaries as a hindrance. They'll see them as okay, once I get over this, once this boundary is done, or once this task is done, then I can go do this. So hopefully they're learning that, but they're also 13, 10, and 7. So who knows what they're learning? I don't even know. I don't know what they're doing. They're great little kids, but who knows what's going through their minds?
I think that's a lot of times expectations are those unspoken things that, like you were talking about, things that you just, it's assumptions, right? That something's going to go a certain way. And if we do that,
Hmm.
if especially, I mean, how much of that was happening when we were growing up, right? I had this
Right.
expectation. I had this
Yeah.
expectation. Our parents had these
Hmm.
expectations, right? I remember mom one
Yeah.
time we went to public school and mom says, we pay taxes for school. And I was like, we're having this conversation. I was like, yeah. And she said, well, doesn't that provide books? I was like, it does. She goes, could you bring one home so I can see it? So
Hmm.
she expected she expected me to be a normal student. I wasn't. I got great grades,
Sorry.
but I just
That
didn't.
whole
Right.
story just slowly clicked in my mind. I didn't get it at first. And then I started getting it. I was like, oh no.
So she was. I mean, she wasn't. It was funny. She wasn't really worried about my grades. She was just worried about the however much tax she was paying to make sure that we had books that we could use. But it was. She was really sweet. She had a lot of um, unusual convers. We had a lot of unusual conversations together. So yeah, the
Now
expectations.
this is Grandma
Yeah.
K, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. They and like I said, they're unspoken, and they're also assumptions that we're making almost a contract with the person that they don't know anything about. And I think we do that a lot of times by even the expectations of gender, race, size, all these things, right?
Yeah.
So those are things also that, and again, they're unwritten, usually unwarranted contracts that we have made with ourselves about what we think this is going to be, this situation. I think that's a lot of times what gets us into trouble, because when we do those
So I have
expectations.
a funny story.
Go ahead.
Oh, go on. No, you go ahead.
Okay. So we have those expectations. What it does is it devalues the situation, and it also doesn't allow us to be present because we're always waiting for that thing to happen. And present is where we should be.
Yeah, right. So I have a funny story about, you said expectations of size.
Mm-hmm.
So for my work, my old work, we had to get driving cards. So you have to go do a physical, make sure you're fit to drive these trucks. It's an insurance thing for the companies. So I go in, they do urine, blood, they take your blood pressure, all that stuff, right? So I'm in there. So I'm 6 foot. And at the time I was like 260, 265. And the doctor comes in and is reading over the charts and goes, "Oh my goodness." I said, "What?" She goes, "I did not expect this." And I was like, "Oh, great. Something's wrong." She goes, "No, you're completely healthy. Your cholesterol's right. I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, usually if someone's as big as you, I was like, what in the world is going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
But she thought just because I was overweight, and I tell people I weigh 270 pounds, they do not believe me because I think I carry it pretty well, but, and a lot of it's leg, but the fact that she had this expectation when she was walking in the room, just from looking at me, that, okay, this is going to be a difficult one. This guy's going to have all these problems, all this stuff. I was like, I just can't imagine going through life and seeing somebody for 10 seconds and being like, "I got you pegged. I know exactly what you're all about. I already know it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's basically what high school is.
Oh, totally.
High school is just a bunch of people that saw you for 10 seconds and never changed their opinion about you after that 10 seconds.
Yeah. I was homeschooled during high school, so I missed out on that experience. But I had heard other people talk about it. You're giving me the finger, but it was
Bobby says you're number
actually
one.
It's very isolating. It wasn't necessarily fun. There were parts of it that were fun,
Yeah,
but
I was.
yeah,
Until your mom figured
I
out what
didn't.
you were
I mean,
doing.
yeah, yeah. I used to like ride my bike to the library, watching music videos, just doing whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
This is after ninth grade. Ninth grade, she was there and like teaching us or whatever. But then she got a job and she would be gone during like the 8 to 5 block of time. And we would have our books at the table. They'd be like, "All right, going to work. Okay, bye." And then as soon as she left, like, "All right, going back to sleep. Get a couple more hours of sleep." It's like a very bad foundation builder for like learning how to study for things. Um, yeah. Still
Listen,
recovering from that to this
I didn't
day.
learn how to study for anything in high school either, and I was at school all day. Nobody taught us how to. Nobody taught us how to learn. They taught us how to memorize things.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to necessarily learn or gain any knowledge. They just wanted to say, "Hey, they can do this thing that this class is focused on. Go."
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily. I mean, it's the way the school system is, but
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely got my ass kicked in college. Just because, not because I couldn't do it intellectually, but the structure of things and the amount of things that were required to complete the assignments and the essays, and I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely had some
Yeah,
issues.
I don't think I could have ever gone to college. I don't know. There was a time that I almost became a chiropractor after the Navy. Almost. It was hit or miss there, but
Yeah.
well, I wanted to work on cars. That was what I thought I would enjoy doing, and so I went to school to do that, and then had an expectation that I would enjoy doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't. I should have gone to like a fabrication or school or something like that, because I would have had more fun than just fixing, oh, here, this part's broken, let me take it off and put it back on. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to build cars, not just put pieces on.
Yeah.
That's part of the story that I was with expectations too, is a lot of times we don't have enough information. And I think when we have enough information, then we don't have the expectations. Like if you would have sat down and gone through the process about what you actually wanted to do, right? It would have been, like you said, I want to make and fix and do the cool stuff. I don't want to have to plug in a computer and let the computer tell me what thing to replace, because that's you needed to be a mechanic in the 60s. That's right. But
I think I would have loved to do.
Right. We don't go into situations a lot of times. That's what I'm doing right now about what I'm going to do with my next step, right? Because I'm like, I want to do this, and then that opened up to me, and I looked at it, and I was like, that's not aligned with what I want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the process of that this wellness center was setting up, and I was like, well, I could go in there and do that, right? But it's their definition of wellness and mine are different, and my tools are different. So if it's massage and fingernails and cigars, that's not my idea of fun, right? I want to get into I want to get into it and say, well, cigars aren't so bad, but I want to get into it and say, I want to help people like deep and get into the depth of things. Right. I don't want to have, like, it's the same thing as when you were talking about mechanics. I don't want to have to say, okay, here, do this, plug this in and see if this works, because everybody's individual. And I think that's part of the mechanic part, right? You could bring 40 focuses in, they'd have the same problem.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've actually had to do that. I had to go to Hertz Rent-A-Car, and all of their Ford Focus and Ford Fusions needed their computers updated. I spent a week going to Hertz and going up and down aisles of cars, plugging it in, and it was like an 8-minute thing. And you plug it in, run the program, then go to the next car. And it was crazy. But I was at the time, I was like, hey, at least I'm getting paid. It's not too bad. They all have air conditioning, so I'm sitting in the air conditioning while his computer's running, all this stuff. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then when I started building elevators, well, when I got into the elevator unit, I had no clue what was going to happen. I had no preconceived notion, no expectations, no nothing, and I ended up loving it. I did love it for a long time. Now, towards the end of the last job, not so much, but now I'm back to loving it again. I actually have a good time working and maintaining these elevators. So it's a process, and I think expectations kind of, if you have this expectation that, okay, this is what it's going to be like, and it's not that way, then that's going to ruin it, no matter, even if it was something that you actually like doing. If it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be doing, then it's going to make the expectations that much harder.
Yeah. I'm actually really learning to love when things don't go the way that I think that they should go, or the way that I really want it to go this way, and it goes another way, it still ends up being great. Like, um, I've done a lot of thinking this year about 2013 because that was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I was broke, I didn't have a car. There's a lot of stuff going on 10 years ago. And I remember that whole year. I remember everything that happened. This is like that first stage of getting old, I guess, where it's like, oh yeah, back in my day, we were doing this and I was going through that. And I'm just really starting to feel that because I'm like, it's 2023. How can that be 10 years ago? That doesn't make sense. It feels like it was not yesterday, but like a few years ago, you know? But I have love in my life, I have community, I'm connected to myself. Um, there's just so many opportunities that I have and that keep coming to me. And I never, I want to talk to me from 10 years ago. He would have been like, that's like, what is this? This is like a dream or something. This isn't real. This isn't possible, you
Right.
know? And I'm just talking about the most basic human needs stuff. I'm not even talking about the spiritual growth or any of the other extra shit, right? Just that I could possibly find love and be happy and be around people that, made my life better, helped make their lives better. Um, normal, healthy things. I didn't believe that was really possible. At that time, I did, which was part of the reason I didn't want to live, like I was done. Um, so um, my expectations are always, well, not always is like an absolute. Um, they can often be really intense, um, because as I told you earlier, having expectations was something that I was used to not, because like, well, it's just gonna be whatever, you know. So what do I have to do now? I have to do this thing. Okay. Now what? What's next? Oh, now it's this thing. Okay. You know, um, so it's just, I still struggle with it at times, but it's easier because I have tools now to zoom out and look at things from different angles and not just from the one way that I thought it should go in order for things to be good or for me to be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what, like, in the 2013, your expectation was it wasn't going to change. It was just going to be the same
Yeah.
all your life, which
100%.
thankfully wasn't true, right? And I don't think it's
Yeah.
true
Thank goodness.
when we say that, but it's like we talked about, like the absolutes, or it's that thing. It's we don't have enough information, right? If somebody
Hmm.
said, I don't feel like I want to live anymore because of the tools that I have now, that would be more realistic, right? Instead of just, let's go get some more tools and see how it goes before I
Hmm.
end my life. And I think that's an important
Hmm.
message. Like for you to say 10 years ago where you were and where you are now, it's worth that 10 years to be there in all the things that have happened. Right? Those are the things that I want people to understand when they feel like they're at their worst or they're at their lowest. Grab another tool,
Hmm.
right? Talk to a friend, go to a community. You know,
Hmm.
the community that we have is
Yeah.
very
Start
rich, and
doing stand up.
right,
Hmm.
open up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Stand up and go
Right.
find somebody that hasn't said they love you, but they do love you, or has said they love you and you haven't received it. Because
Yeah.
and Bobby and I've said this before, there's not a suicide out there that the world was a better place afterwards.
Yeah.
Not since 1940. Listen, we can all do. We were all better without that shithead around. Just saying. If there's somebody who committed suicide that deserved it, and I'm happy it happened, it's it. It's a good job.
I can't even put a respectfully behind that, bro. You just like totally.
No respect to it.
He
The only
just,
thing that would have been the only thing that would have been funnier is if he tried to and didn't, and then when he was having surgery, they gave him a bunch of Jewish blood. That's the only thing that would have made it any better.
oh Lord. There's a
I'm
rabbit
kidding.
hole.
That's going to get cut out of the episode. Public
there
won't be hearing that one.
It's important for people to understand that it isn't. That's not the answer. And if you even what Stephen was saying, 10 years down the road, if you can say you'd be as happy as he is now, is it worth that? And it hasn't been that way. Like it wasn't that way yesterday. And then today was, I mean, you've gradually grown and gotten better and made the changes.
Yeah.
So, it does get better. The thing that hit us other than Storm was Twitch when we found out he had committed suicide. And, again, somebody like that had the tools available to him. But, and I think, and I go into this, but I think that's where the prescription medication comes in. Is because, have you guys seen 9 Perfect Strangers?
I don't think so,
What?
no.
Is that an internet thing?
I know. It's on one of the shows. I just saw parts of it. But the reason I did, because there was
No, I haven't.
there was a suicide and how they handled it. And the mom had an encounter with the son, his spirit, with something that she had hidden that she should have done, that she could have done, that she didn't do. Because on his asthma medication, it said suicidal inclinations, right? And the dad was in a situation where he just didn't deal with it, right? He was just like, everything happens for a reason. It's and he was always upbeat, which ticked the mom off even more because she had this guilt that was deep. And then the sister, who was a twin sister, actually said, she kept saying, well, we weren't that close. It was okay. We weren't that close. So when he came back to her, he said, stop saying we weren't close. Right. So it showed how they were dealing with it, but it also showed that when the person commits suicide, it doesn't stop. It goes on with the people
It just spreads.
Right. It goes on with the people. Like the first thing people, this thing I said with Storm, if I'd reached out more, or, there's all kinds of things that the people that are left behind are going, what could I have done? Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's, again, the message that we want to spread is, everybody's loved. Whether you feel it or not, receive it. It's different that way, right? You deserve it, which is the easiest way to receive it. So, hang in there with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, the mindset I had at that time, because the first time that I went into that idea of like, yeah, I should check out, was when I was 12. And from my vantage point now, I'm thinking like, what was so bad at 12 that I was already ready to go? Now, I actually do know, but it seems so minuscule now in comparison, right? But I kept pushing that feeling and this idea to the side. Well, I haven't gotten to do this yet. I'm only 12. I'm only 15. And if I just wait a little bit longer, maybe this will be cool, or maybe this will be better. And it felt at the time like everything that I tried I would end up back in the same place, and it'd be more intense. And that's why, in 2013, 10 years ago, I was like, all right, I've tried all these things. I keep trying. This is not. And at that point, I was like more ready than I thought I was when I was 12, for sure.
Right.
And I had a couple of friends that sensed that. I didn't tell them that I was going to do anything, but they just sensed that I was like getting really dark. And I remember one of my friends I was texting him late. I was probably doing the little cryptic, like, I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow. Like, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow. Like shit like that, right? So he just keeps texting me all night. And then when I start chilling off, he's still texting me. He's keeping me engaged until I fall asleep. And then when I fall asleep, I wake up in the morning to this friend calling me like, hey, I'm coming over. And then he comes over and we go out, and like he's kind of like talking me out of my really dark place. But you know, I was pretty close to doing it, but I wasn't actually ready to do it, because then I wouldn't have been texting anybody. Um, but that conversation I had got me to a point where I made a commitment to myself to do whatever it would take to remove myself from the negativity and from the toxic stuff, and follow my curiosity. You know, everything I had done to that moment led to me feeling like I'm dead. Like life isn't for me. And I realized I needed to do different things. I needed to try different things. And um, so that was like a solid enough tool. I didn't have like all the tools I have now. And a lot of times I was just trying shit and reading books and just doing a whole host of crazy things. Y'all talked about chapters in the last episode. I thought that was interesting, that was sort of like a triggering thing, because like, for the way I see it, I've always kind of looked at my life as like a movie, and there's like lots of different scenes, and it's not linear. Some of it is flashback, some of it is like, split
You're like
screen or
a
whatever.
Quentin Tarantino movie, aren't you?
Yeah, because there's just a
It
lot,
was
so much that has happened in my life that is like, well, this doesn't. If you're watching it in movie format, it's like, well, that didn't, like, now it's a totally different thing, and then like, oh wait, that connected with this. Um, and that's just the way life is. It's all over the place, but it's all connected. There's never uh, like, oh, I feel like I was reborn. I was born yesterday. Yeah, but you weren't, though. Like, you're still you, but you're a different version of you based on everything that's happened and everything that you've learned. So, like, the next chapter isn't like a totally new Rob, or a totally new Bobby, or a totally new Steven. It's us, but a more evolved version, or a more experienced version. Um, yeah. Also, I did want to say something else about like the superhero thing, because y'all talked about that in a few episodes, and I've been playing around with that archetype a lot this year, and I don't think superhero, at least to me, what it means to me, it doesn't mean that you have to do everything by yourself, because you can, because you're so strong, and you can just do everything. You don't need any help. You're like the Lone Ranger. Like, that's not even appealing to me. Like, I have done that in my life, and I've proven I can do that. Yay, great. Lots of therapy later, and a lot of other stuff. Yeah, that's not it for me. Like, I want help. I want community, and I don't want to do it myself. I don't think true success happens that way. We're like, yeah, I did it all by myself. which is a lie. Anyone who says that is lying to themselves.
But I think you've accepted help. I think you've known you've needed help since you were 12.
Mm,
So you said that you weren't ready, or you weren't really ready to commit suicide when you were 12. I
mm-hmm,
think you were. And this is just my take on a 5-second story you gave me, but this is just
mm-hmm.
how my brain interpreted it. I think you
Yeah.
were ready to take that leap. But because you had this friend who wouldn't take no for an answer, he wouldn't stop texting you, your brain started realizing, okay, this is my Robin this is the Robin to my Batman. This is the person who's
Mm-hmm,
gonna, when I start going off the rails, he's gonna be there. So I'm not trying to minimize or anything with your story, but I think
mm-hmm,
that friend was was when you started accepting love from somebody else, even no matter if it's a platonic love or anything, but love, that was the first time you felt love probably from somebody outside of your immediate family. That person was your lifeline. That person was taking those suicidal thoughts, which I'm sure were very real, because 12 is a fucking terrible age. But then you have this friend who you've probably known him for a while. He's been your friend, but then he becomes this almost backup battery.
mm-hmm.
Every time the power starts to go out, nope, you're coming back. Like, I'm bringing you back. I'm pulling you back. And it's just a great story. It's a great story for me to hear, because when I was 12, I didn't have that. I
Mm-hmm.
never, and you can ask Daddy, I had a few friends. I had a couple of friends, but I don't think I
Yeah.
had one friend that I could have gone over and said, hey, or a friend, like you said, they just kind of, they picked it up how you were
Mm-hmm.
talking. I
Yeah.
don't think I had a friend that would have picked up anything.
Mm.
So it shows me a lot about you, because you were accepting love so much earlier than I was from people outside of your little family circle.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the story, and I'm glad that you told it. It really hit me into heartstrings. So, but I
Yeah.
do think, looking back on it now, you're saying, oh, well, I don't know if I was really ready to commit suicide. Almost diminishes how much that person impacted you.
Mm.
Because saying that you weren't really ready, and then you have this friend who picked up on your hints or your sadness or your darkness and brought you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he did, or she, I don't know, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl,
Yeah. Yeah. This is
brought
it.
you out of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I could be completely wrong. But just
Yeah.
when you were telling that story, and I was thinking, this person, I wish I had somebody like that in my friend group that would have
Mm.
given enough of a shit about me to do that.
Mm. Well, I will just to clarify, like, I didn't have that at any point before I went to college. So, I mean, like, I had friends, but like, they were like high school friends, if you get me. Like, I don't even know where they're at now. I don't know what they're doing. I don't have anybody in my life before like 18, other than my sister at this point. Everybody else is faded to black, and not because they're dead. But,
God, could you imagine if everybody Steven knew before he was 18 died?
I
see,
think I
this is
think
him going left again.
I think Bobby made
I think
Bobby got a little confused on the time frame there, but I think but he did
Yeah,
also
yeah,
come
yeah.
up with the point that you were ready at 2013, and that's when the guy picked up.
Hmm.
oh wait, the guy picked up at 2013?
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it was when he was 12.
Well,
You
but
guys let
that's
me tell that whole story without correcting me?
it was important for you to say that because you brought up how you felt at 12 and you felt unsupported at 12.
Right.
So that's actually healing for you. And
Yeah.
it's also a story that Stephen didn't have the same. He was like you. He didn't have that, but at a certain age, he got that.
Yeah.
And he got it when he was
Yeah.
ready. But think the tool that Stephen had when he was 12 was like, well, I'll wait until I'm 15. Or I'll wait until I'm 18. Right?
Right.
So he was looking forward to the future, but he was also expecting things to change at those times. And they probably did a little bit if he went back and looked. Like at 15 it changed a little bit, at 18 it changed a little bit. So that's that's why I let you tell the story that way, Bobby, because it was something, like you said, it hits you in the heartstrings because it's your story too.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important
a lot of what you
to
said,
feel that.
Yeah, a lot of what you said, Bobby, was accurate as far as to like what I felt because, you know, I did go off somewhere when I was 12 and I was like planning like, yeah, like this is like I'm already done. You know, it wasn't just like I had the thought. Like I had the thought and then like I left home to go do it. And it was just like an ongoing battle with that. You know, I get to points, you know, I was 13 and 14 and like, no, well, like I haven't even driven yet, or I haven't even like, let me just like, you know, I would try to like hold on to my curiosity because I was always curious. But this dark side of me was just like, there's no point in being curious, like, because you're not even going to get to be whatever it is you think you want to be. And then even if you get there, you're still not going to be happy. You're still going to be back in this place. So let's just give up. And I was able to fend it off just with curiosity up until 2013. 2013, I was like, all right, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm glad 2013 came and went. That's for sure.
Me too.
Fuck 2013.
Yeah.
And 12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years
and
old.
whenever you were 12, whatever year that was.
Yeah. 2001, I think. Yeah.
You were 12 in 2001? Oh,
yeah,
I was only
right
15. I was only
right
15. I got like all weirded out.
Yeah, I remember 2001 too. Very well.
All right.
All right, I think that's a good ending spot, Pop.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Steven. It's been a blast.
Yeah,
I loved your
Steven,
insights.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
It's good. It's good to get different perspectives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
we'll have to do this again. Enjoyed being on here with both of you. I love you very much, and also, you know, you got to start capping Bobby because he'll go left and then he'll just run up the time. You know, like we could have gotten to this part of the conversation within the first 10 minutes.
He's the editor,
I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to do anything.
I don't know. Yeah, might need
I don't give two shits. I don't two shits how long this goes. Don't care. I got like 8 minutes at least. No, at least 15 minutes. I got to cut out anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just remember,
you are not broken, and you're not alone. And we love you guys.
But wait, what's the call to action? We didn't do a call to action.
We haven't. Dad does one every once in a while. I never have one.
What do you do? A call to action, Steven.
Do you have one?
Oh, okay. Give me a second. I would say find a thing that you're curious about and follow that rabbit hole. That's my call to action.
Nice.
I like it.
Respectfully.
I like it a lot.
Respectfully find your curiosity.
Yeah. That's right. You know, I wouldn't want anybody to get the wrong idea.
Some
Doesn't
strangers.
necessarily mean anything. That's right.
Following some stranger home. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So come on, guys. Be smart.
Also.
All right.